Good evening and welcome to BBC Channel Islands. On the evening, the islands have lost their High Court battle over VAT. A judge rules the UK can stop tax relief on our low-value exports, but our politicians vow to fight on. It leaves a workforce in crisis. We speak to some of the thousands of workers fearing for their future.
These are economic sanctions against the Channel Islands, against Jersey, and these are usually policies that are reserved for rogue states.
Also this Thursday evening.
Hello and welcome to a brand new station serving Guernsey, Alderney,
BBC Radio Jersey and BBC Guernsey celebrate 30 years in the business this week. We revisit the biggest news stories and some old faces. The Channel Islands have lost their battle to save low-value consignment relief. It means thousands of jobs across our islands are now at risk. In a moment, we'll hear from some of the people in those jobs, as well as our politicians. But first, our reporter Penny Elderfield has spent the week at the High Court in London and sent this report.
Well, the Channel Islands have had their day in court, but it didn't go the way Guernsey and Jersey states wanted it to. The judge here at the High Court today decided to rule in favour of the UK government, meaning they can push ahead with plans to scrap low-value consignment relief on goods from the Channel Islands. Guernsey and Jersey's legal teams had tried to argue it was unfair to discriminate against the islands in this way, but the judge said today there was nothing unlawful under EU rules about the UK's plans and that there was nothing to stop them targeting the scrapping of LVCR just at the Channel Islands. He did, however, recognise the significant impact it would have on both islands' economies. It is a big blow for the fulfilment industry, which relies on LVCR and employs thousands of people across the islands. It was also ruled today that Guernsey and Jersey states should pay 50% of the UK's legal costs. Both islands do intend to appeal, though. Penny Elderfield, BBC Channel Islands News, London.
Well, the UK pressure group Retailers Against VAT Avoidance Schemes has been instrumental in persuading the British government to bring in this ban. They had this message for the Channel Islands this evening.
I think that the UK government should have acted earlier to stop it to the point where lots of people became reliant upon it. I also think that politicians in the Channel Islands should be seriously thinking about how they allowed this to occur, knowing what the outcome of it would be. And it could only get bigger and it would only become more obvious as time went on.
Well, away from the court, there is of course a human face to this story. There are thousands of staff directly and indirectly employed in fulfilment businesses across our islands. Edward Salt reports now on what today's announcement means for them.
Hello. Phil Balderson runs HealthSpark in St Helier. He sells vitamins and supplements over the internet and employs around 12 staff. Today he waited to hear the future of the fulfilment industry.
I very much regret that that's the decision that's been reached. Our belief, looking at the legal possibilities ourselves, was that we had a very, very strong case. It's clear that what is happening is discriminatory against Jersey and Guernsey.
And now Phil says he may have to locate part of his business elsewhere as a result.
Today's ruling is very damaging to both islands. We will have to look at moving some of our fulfilment operations to the UK in order that we can maintain the high levels of service that our customers have enjoyed.
And that's a view shared by Marcus Quinn. Marcus is in charge of this online business. He emphasises with Phil and says what the UK is doing is unfair.
As a small company, we're very good at repurposing people, and we can move people from fulfilment to customer services. So for us personally, we don't anticipate job losses. Essentially, these are economic sanctions against the Channel Islands, against Jersey, and these are usually policies that are reserved for rogue states like, Iran or Iraq or things like that. It feels very unfair.
Well, through those gates behind me is one of the largest warehouses in the Channel Islands that distributes DVDs and CDs to people from sales made over the internet. Now, it's estimated that 1,600 people work in the fulfilment industry across Guernsey and Jersey. No one wanted to talk on camera today, but staff I spoke to said although they're worried, they're remaining upbeat. For now, the work here in this warehouse will continue, but for many other businesses, the days are numbered. Edward Salt, BBC Channel Islands News.
Well, that's the reaction of some of the businesses directly affected. But what of our governments who've led this legal challenge? Guernsey's ministers were unavailable for interview, but did release a statement saying they were disappointed that the court deemed the removal of LVCR lawful, adding the State of Guernsey will consider its response and continue to work towards mitigating the effects of the decision. And earlier, Jersey's Economic Development Minister, Senator Alan McLean, joined me in the studio. I asked him if this was the end of the legal challenge.
At this stage, we can't say. Quite simply, we have the ability to appeal. That would be an appeal to the European courts. We're going to consider, once we know the full details of the judgment, whether indeed an appeal is going to be appropriate.
Do you have any idea of how many of these mail-order companies will leave Jersey once they don't have this VAT advantage?
We're not clear in terms of the numbers. What we do know is that quite a number of jobs are going to be at risk, without doubt. So businesses may well scale down their operations in the island, and so job losses will ensue. And we will do all we can to work with the businesses to ensure we help to mitigate that.
So what sort of preparations has the government been making? Because you could potentially have hundreds, if not thousands, of people needing some financial support if they lose their jobs. Is the benefits bill suddenly going to go through the roof?
Well, the benefit bill is one issue why we took the action in the first place. We know that for every 100 people who lose their jobs, it costs the island £800,000 a year in income support. So yes, we've been working very closely to look at ways in which we can develop the fulfilment industry. There are a number of companies, for example, that work and sell products in other markets above LVCR. They aren't dependent on it, and we'll seek to develop that area. In tandem to that, we've been looking with the Back to Work team at trying to find job alternatives for those that are unfortunately going to lose their jobs.
What is your message then to workers watching this tonight who will be affected by this decision?
Well, we'll work as hard as we can to support the businesses that are here and hope we can maintain as many of them as we can by looking at new products and new markets. And those that are going to unfortunately lose their jobs, we'll work with them through the Back to Work team to find alternative employment as quickly as we can.
Well, bringing you some more of the day's news now. Jersey's Health Department and police have issued